buttercup, you're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall, won't stop till I get enough.
Okay, so let's jump right in.
Sounds good to me.
This sent over this post-game recap about the Seahawks and Bears Thursday night football game.
Yeah.
And, well, this was not exactly an offensive shootout.
No, it wasn't.
The final score was 6-3.
Yeah. A real low-scoring game.
Seahawks got the win. But, I mean, what kind of football game ends with a score like that?
Well, what I find fascinating here is that it's like a blast from the past. You know, this was a real defensive battle.
Right.
Which we don't see too often in today's NFL, you know? I mean, everybody loves the high-flying offenses.
Right. Everybody wants to see points.
Yeah, exactly.
So is this like a sign of things to come? Like, is the league kind of shifting back to this defensive style? I mean, the Seahawks, they got the win, so their playoff hopes are still alive.
Yeah.
But the Bears, on the other hand, they're facing a 10-game losing streak.
Yeah, they are.
All because of defense.
Absolutely. And to really understand just how dominant that Seahawks defense was, you got to look at the stats. They sacked the Bears quarterback 7 times.
7 sacks. Can you imagine the pressure in that pocket?
Oh, man.
No wonder the Bears offense couldn't get anything going.
Yeah, to put that into perspective, 7 sacks in a game, that's huge.
Yeah.
It really speaks to the strength of that Seattle defensive line.
Right.
And Leonard Williams particularly, he was just a force out there.
So it wasn't just the rain and the mud out there. This was like a strategic dismantling of that Bears offense.
Precisely. The Seahawks defense, they controlled the line of scrimmage. They disrupted passing plays.
Wow.
And they really just dictated the pace of the entire game.
Yeah.
And this wasn't just dumb luck. This was a well-executed defensive strategy.
And for anybody out there who thinks defense isn't exciting,
right,
this game proves them wrong. I mean, there's a certain intensity to watching a goal line stand.
Yeah.
You know, or a big tackle for a loss, or those bone-crushing sacks.
Oh, yeah, you're right. There's a certain raw energy to watching two defenses just going at it inch by inch.
Totally.
It's like a chess match. A test of will and strategy.
Yeah.
And this Seahawks-Bears game, it was a perfect example of how defense can be just as captivating as any offensive showcase.
Yeah, it reminds us that football is a game of many facets, and that while the offensive stars often get all the headlines,
yeah, they do.
A strong defense can be the backbone of a winning team.
Absolutely.
I mean, this Seahawks win, it was a masterclass in defensive dominance.
It really was.
So does this mean that we're seeing like a resurgence of defensive football in the NFL?
It's an interesting question. Is this game just an outlier, or are we seeing more teams realizing that they need to prioritize building those tough, gritty defensive units again?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
So let's
take a look at some other recent games.
Okay.
And see if we can find a pattern here.
All right, you got me hooked. Let's dive in and see what other examples we can find where defense really stole the show.
Okay. So remember that Rams-49ers game a couple weeks back?
Oh, yeah.
Another low-scoring game. Ended 12-6. Rams took that one.
Yeah, that was a nail-biter. And the 49ers, I mean, they're known for their offense.
Right. Oh, yeah, their offense is usually explosive.
Right, but they were basically shut down.
Totally.
By that Rams defense. Yeah. 6 points. I mean, that's unheard of for a team like the 49ers.
You rarely see that, and it shows you that even the best offenses can be stopped by a disciplined and aggressive defense.
Yeah.
The Rams didn't just contain the 49ers, they completely disrupted their whole game plan.
Yeah, it really makes you realize that in these defensive battles, every yard, every tackle, every single play can shift the momentum.
Exactly. And it's not just about stopping the other team from scoring.
Right.
A strong defense can create opportunities for their own offense, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Think about turnovers, you know, interceptions, fumble, recoveries.
Yeah.
These can swing the game in an instant.
It's like a hidden weapon waiting to be unleashed.
You
might have a star quarterback and all that, but a relentless defense, that can be the X factor that puts a team over the top.
Precisely. And these close, defensively dominated games, they really highlight something crucial about football.
What's that?
Adaptability?
Adaptability?
Yeah. You know, we tend to think of the NFL as, you know, this league ruled by offensive firepower.
Right. Lots of points.
Yeah, exactly. But the teams that can adapt
to
different game conditions, different styles of play, those are the teams that often have the upper hand.
So it's not just about having that, you know, flashy offense.
Not always. Sometimes it comes down to who can grind it out, win those tough battles in the trenches, who can make those big defensive stops when it matters most.
Yeah, that's a good reminder that football, it's multifaceted.
It is.
And the Seahawks-Bears game.
Yeah.
I mean, with the mud, the rain, that defensive slugfest.
Yeah.
It really challenged both of those teams to adapt.
For sure.
But even in the loss, were there any, signs of life from that Bears defense?
Absolutely, even though their offense was struggling.
Right.
The Bears defense, they showed some fight. They sacked Geno Smith 3 times.
Okay.
And they even forced a fumble.
So even in a losing streak,
Yeah.
there were some glimmers of hope.
Exactly. Those small victories can be huge for team morale,
Right.
especially during a tough season.
Yeah.
It shows they haven't given up. They're still battling, and there's potential for growth.
Right.
Who knows, maybe next season they'll be the ones surprising everybody with a dominant defense.
That's the beauty of sports, right?
Yeah.
There's always hope, always a chance for a turnaround.
Always.
But let's be real, a final score is 6-3.
Yeah.
That's not exactly a barn burner.
Oh.
Sounds like both offenses had their struggles.
It's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
Both teams really struggled to move the ball consistently.
Yeah.
Geno Smith for the Seahawks, he had a particularly rough time.
Okay.
Finding his rhythm, he threw for only 125 yards and was sacked those 3 times we talked about.
125 yards. I mean, that's barely enough to get you out of your own end zone.
It wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
And the Bears' quarterback situation was even worse.
Oh, really?
Their starting quarterback was benched after some rough outings, and the backup didn't do much better.
Wow.
He threw for just 85 yards.
Oh, my goodness.
And was sacked 7 times by that Seahawks defense.
7 sacks.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the pressure.
It must have been intense.
So 2 struggling offenses,
Yeah.
a muddy field,
Yeah.
and a final score that looked more like a baseball game
It did.
than an NFL matchup.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if this is a sign of things to come.
It's a fascinating question. Are we seeing a shift? Are teams starting to realize that building a strong, adaptable defense might be the key to success in this evolving league?
Intriguing thought, but what about the fans?
Yeah.
I mean, was it actually fun
Right.
to watch 2 offenses just sputtering around in the rain and mud?
That's a great point. While it might not have been a high-scoring offensive show,
Right.
I bet there was a certain thrill to being there
Yeah.
and witnessing those defensive battles firsthand.
Can you imagine sitting in the stands bundled up against the cold and rain?
Yeah.
Both offenses are struggling, the tension is building, and then bam, huge sack,
Yeah.
a forced fumble. The crowd erupts.
Oh, yeah.
There's a certain energy to those defensive moments.
Absolutely. It's a different kind of excitement,
Yeah,
but it can be just as captivating
for sure.
as watching a quarterback throw a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
It's about grit determination, the will to win those tough, hard-fought battles.
It's a reminder that football is a game of inches,
It is.
of momentum swings,
Yeah,
of moments that can completely change the tide of the game.
that's right.
And sometimes those
Yeah.
game-changing moments
They come
from
from
the defense.
Precisely. This Seahawks-Bears game might not have been a classic in terms of offensive fireworks.
Right.
But it was a masterclass
Yeah.
in defensive strategy and execution.
It highlighted the importance of adaptability, the power of a relentless defense,
Yeah.
and the fact that even in a league
Right.
dominated by offensive stars,
That's right.
defense can still steal the show.
Absolutely.
And it leaves us with some pretty interesting questions
Does.
about the future of the NFL.
Yeah.
Are we seeing a resurgence of defensive football?
Right.
Will teams start prioritizing,
Yeah.
building those tough, gritty defenses again?
It's a good question.
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
So for those of you listening out there, what stood out to you about this game? Was it the dominance of the Seahawks defense, the Bears' struggles on offense, or maybe the reminder that even in a league known for its high-scoring games, defense can still be the deciding factor?
Yeah, it's those unexpected turns, those shifts in momentum that really make football so exciting.
Right.
And as we head into the playoffs, I think it's becoming pretty clear that defense could really be the deciding factor for a lot of these teams.
It's so easy to get caught up in the hype of the star quarterbacks and those explosive offensive plays.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But this Seahawks-Bears game,
Ah.
it was like a huge reminder that a really dominant defense can completely change the game.
Absolutely.
And it kind of makes you wonder, are there any other teams out there, flying under the radar?
Right.
Terms with these strong defenses that could maybe make a deep playoff run?
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about. I mean, if you look back at, recent NFL history,
Yeah.
there are so many examples of teams that made these surprising playoff runs
Right.
on the backs of their defenses.
Yeah.
Like, remember the 2015 Denver Broncos?
Yeah.
They won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they did.
With a historically good defense.
Yeah.
Even though their offense wasn't anything to write home about.
That's right. I mean, they had Peyton Manning, but he was kind of in the twilight of his career, you know.
He was.
It was really their defense that carried them to victory.
Totally. And even this season,
Yeah.
you look at teams like the Rams and the Saints, they're really relying on their defenses to stay competitive.
Yeah, it's like a secret weapon
It is.
waiting to be unleashed in the playoffs.
Exactly. And for fans, it just adds another level of excitement to the game.
Right.
It's not just about rooting for your team to score touchdown.
Right.
It's about appreciating those, strategic battles, the individual matchups.
Right.
The sheer will and determination
Yeah.
of those defensive players.
It really reminds us that football is a game of strategy,
It is.
a physicality of mental toughness.
Yeah, you got to have all of that.
And sometimes those most memorable moments, they aren't, the flashy touchdown passes,
Right.
but the goal line stands, the interceptions that totally shift the momentum.
Yeah,
The sacks that just send a jolt of energy through the entire stadium.
absolutely. Well said. This Seahawks-Bears game, it might not have been the prettiest,
Right.
but it was a reminder that defense still matters.
It does.
And as we get closer to the playoffs, it's a good reminder that any team with a strong defense has a chance to make a run at that championship.
So keep an eye on those underdogs, right?
Yeah.
Those teams with defenses that can just shut down the competition. They might just be the ones hoisting that Lombardi trophy at the end of the season.
That's right. And on that note,
Yeah.
I'll leave you with this.
Okay.
Think about recent NFL seasons. Which teams have made those surprising playoff runs
Right.
because of their defenses? And what can we learn from them as we watch this season unfold?
That's a great question for everyone to think about.
It is.
And it might just give you some insight into, which teams to watch as we head towards the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up